After the Chernobyl accident, a huge amount of equipment was used to eliminate the consequences. It worked where people could no longer, in areas with colossal doses of radiation. Trucks, buses, armored personnel carriers, fire engines, helicopters, all this became expendable material in the fight against the disaster. Even the personal cars of local residents were left to their own devices. People believed that they would return home in a few weeks. Later, there was a need to isolate all this dead equipment. Some were tried to be washed and reused, but most were sent to special landfills, which were popularly called cemeteries of deadly equipment. Rosoka, the main cemetery of equipment. The most famous was the landfill in the village of Rosoka. Once it was an ordinary Ukrainian village, but after the accident, it turned into a landfill for radioactive scrap metal. Here they left over 400 units of various equipment, 10 Mi-6 and Mi-8 helicopters, engineering vehicles for clearing barriers, armored personnel carriers and repair and evacuation vehicles, chemical reconnaissance equipment, floating transporters, even an old ISU-152 self-propelled gun from the Second World War. All of this was so contaminated that it could not be reused. The vehicles were covered in deadly dust, and they were decided to leave them here forever. Buryakivka, underground burial grounds. Another equipment cemetery was created near the village of Buryakivka, 50 kilometers from the Chernobyl NPP. Here, not only were the vehicles left in the open air, but they were also buried in deep trenches. The trenches had a volume of over 25,000 cubic meters. They were lined with a layer of clay to isolate nuclides. In total, about 30 such burial grounds were set up in Buryakivka. The location was chosen specifically, far from water bodies because water can quickly spread radiation. Therefore, the equipment buried here is considered relatively safe. However, the equipment left on the surface attracted the attention of those looking for easy money. Where did the equipment disappear to? Back in the 2000s, one could see eerie landscapes of equipment cemeteries. But around 2013, it became clear that the largest cemeteries were empty. Researchers found that the equipment was exported in 3 waves. The end of the 1980s. Back in the USSR, when there was a shortage of spare parts, parts were removed from contaminated cars and reused. The 1990s. The second massive wave. Engines, radiators, and body elements were exported. Often, these spare parts even ended up on car markets in large cities, in particular in Kharkiv. 2000s. The equipment was cut into scrap metal and illegally exported from the exclusion zone. And in 2012 to 2013, an official cleanup took place. The remains were moved to the Vector plant, where they were processed or buried in special storage facilities. Ship graveyard. In addition to cars, Chernobyl also has a ship graveyard. In the Pripyat Bay, near the former ship repair plant, river barges and tugboats that participated in the liquidation of the accident still stand. Time, corrosion, and looters are destroying these vessels. Some have already disappeared completely. Satellite images show how the number of ships is decreasing year by year. One of them even became a prototype in the computer game Stalker. The history of the Chernobyl equipment cemeteries is a reminder of the scale of the disaster. Some of the machines are forever buried in the ground. Some ended up in people's hands and may still be used. Others disappeared in the smelting furnaces, mixed with the pure metal, and are now impossible to distinguish. The radiation will gradually disappear over hundreds of years, but the history of these cemeteries will remain one of the darkest pages of Chernobyl for a long time.